hundreds of people, one airport,
and a 20-year-old who had just lost a tennis match 3 days ago. That is where this story starts, and if you think you already know where it's going, I promise you don't. Because what happened at the Madrid airport on April 18th was not a victory celebration. It was not a homecoming parade after a title run. It was something far more rare and honestly far more interesting than any of that. It was a nation refusing to let rankings tell them how to feel about their girl. And the moment those doors opened and Alex stepped through into that arrivals hall, something shifted. You could feel it even through a phone screen. The kind of electricity that does not get manufactured. The kind that just happens when a people decide, quietly and then all at once, that someone belongs to them.
So let's talk about it.
Let's talk about the real story behind those airport gates, what it actually means for her Madrid campaign, and why the next few weeks on clay might be the most defining stretch of Alex's young career. Before we get into Madrid though, we need to go back 3 days. Because the airport scene only makes sense when you understand what came right before it.
Stuttgart, Germany.
Alex walks off the court after a straight sets loss to Leylah Fernandez. 1-6, 4-6.
Clean, clinical, no controversy.
Just a result that went the wrong way. She packs her bags, she gets on a plane, and she lands in Spain ranked 45th in the world. Now, for a lot of players, that sequence would feel deflating. Loss on Monday, flight on Tuesday, new city on Wednesday, and the whole time the draw for a WTA 1000 event is hanging over you like a question mark. But here is the thing about Alex that the stats do not fully capture. She does not travel alone. She never really does. Not in the way that matters. Because the Filipino diaspora is not just large. It is devoted in a way that does not really have a comparison in tennis. You think about the fan bases that follow players across continents and you come up with a few names. The Swiss with Federer in his prime. The Spanish with Nadal on clay. The Serbs with Djokovic at Wimbledon. And now, quietly and then loudly and then overwhelmingly, the Filipinos with Alex wherever she goes. Hundreds of them had been at that Madrid airport since early morning. Some since 6 in the morning, according to posts that started flooding social media before she even landed. They had Philippine flags draped over their shoulders like capes. They had handmade signs. One of them read Pusong Pinoy, which translates to Filipino heart, and honestly you could not write a more perfect sign for this moment if you tried. They were chanting her name in a baggage claim.
A baggage claim.
The kind of place where people normally shuffle around staring at their phones and waiting for their suitcase to appear on a conveyor belt. These people turned it into something that looked more like the tunnel walk before a championship match. And when the doors opened and Alex came through, the noise just went up. She moved slowly through the crowd.
Stopped for photos.
Signed things. Her mom and dad were right there beside her. Her brother was filming on his phone. And Alex herself, this 20-year-old who had just taken a loss in Germany 3 days earlier, looked visibly moved. Not overwhelmed in a bad way. Just genuinely touched by the fact that hundreds of people had shown up for her in a country that is not her country, for a tournament she had not yet won a single match in. The clips hit social media within minutes. GMA Network picked it up.
ABS-CBN Sports ran it.
The tennis corners of X and Instagram went sideways. Hundreds of thousands of views in the first few hours. And the comments were all saying the same thing in different ways. This is what it looks like when a sport finds its next crossover star. Now I want to push back on something here because I think it is important. There is a version of this story that gets told as pure feel-good content. Girl from the Philippines becomes tennis star, fans love her, everyone celebrates, roll credits. And look, that version is not wrong.
But it is incomplete.
Because the real story has friction in it. The real story has pressure and doubt and a clay court season that has not gone the way anyone hoped. And if you actually care about Alex and what she is building, you have to look at both sides of this picture.
So let's be honest.
Her ranking has slipped 16 spots since March. She peaked at number 29 in the world after Indian Wells. Back-to-back early exits in Linz and Stuttgart followed. On clay specifically, the surface that dominates the European swing and leads directly into Roland Garros, she has not yet found her best tennis. In Linz, she lost to Julia Grabber. Before that, she lost to Owapenko on a clay surface, though she did take a set, which tells you the level is there. The game is there. But the wins are not stacking up the way her hardcourt results did. Indian Wells was electric. Miami was the kind of run that makes the tennis world stop and pay attention. She went deep enough that Filipino fans flew in from across the United States just to pack the stands during her second-week matches.
But clay is different.
It rewards different things.
Patience. Topspin.
The willingness to grind through long rallies instead of ending points early with flat, aggressive hitting. And Alex is still learning how to translate her obvious talent onto red dirt in a way that consistently delivers results. That is not a criticism. That is just where she is at 20 years old. But it matters. Because Madrid is a WTA 1000 event. The draw is full of players who have spent years mastering this surface. And Alex is walking into that draw carrying not just her own expectations but the weight of every single person who stood in that airport chanting her name. That is a different kind of pressure. The good news, and there is real good news here, is that the relationship between pressure and Alex seems to work differently than it does for most players. There is a moment from earlier this year that I keep coming back to because I think it tells you everything about who she is.
March 23rd. Miami Open. Round of 16. Karolina Muchova across the net. And what followed was not close. 6-0, 6-2. 63 minutes. Muchova was in a different gear entirely. The scoreline was the kind that can haunt a player. The kind that makes you question whether you belong at the level you thought you were competing at. Alex posted on social media a few hours later. And what she wrote was not vague or performative. She said she makes it a point to always be grateful. No excuses. No complaints.
Just acknowledgement and then forward motion. 2 weeks later, she is in Linz winning her opening match. That is not a coincidence. That is character. And that character is exactly why the airport scene in Madrid means something beyond the visual spectacle of it. Because the people who showed up at 6 in the morning, who held the signs and chanted the name and made that arrivals hall feel like a stadium, they are not responding to a ranking. They are responding to something they recognize as real. There is a through line in Alex's story that runs straight through Spain, and understanding it adds a whole different layer to what that Madrid arrival actually represented. In 2018, she was 13 years old. She traveled to Mallorca and walked into the Rafa Nadal Academy for the first time. Now, this is not a tourist attraction. This is not a branding exercise. The Nadal Academy is where serious players go to get forged on clay.
Topspin mechanics. Mental fortitude.
The specific and demanding education of learning how to compete on a surface that punishes impatience and rewards everything Nadal built his career on.
She was 13. She was there.
And the story she has told publicly about that trip is one of my favorite details in her entire biography. She saw Nadal in the Madrid airport that same year.
She was starstruck. Nervous.
She worked up the courage to approach him and ask for a photo. And Nadal, who is very much the kind of person who understands what that moment means to a young player, stopped.
He smiled. He signed.
He gave her the photo. Fast forward 8 years. She is now the one being chased through Madrid terminals. She is the one the fans are trying to get photos with. She is the one people have been waiting since 6 in the morning to see. That arc, from the 13-year-old chasing her hero through an airport to the 20-year-old being treated like royalty in that same city, that is not just a good story. That is the kind of origin story that reminds you why sport matters beyond the scorelines. And the fact that she still trains at the Nadal Academy, still returns to those courts, still keeps that connection alive, that tells you something about the work ethic underneath all the attention. The academy does not keep players in its system as a favor. It keeps players because they earn it. Alex has earned it. And on a clay court in Madrid, that foundation is going to matter. There is something else happening here that is bigger than one player's results, and I think it deserves a serious conversation. The WTA has been trying to grow its footprint in Southeast Asia for years. Asia broadly is a massive potential market. Hundreds of millions of sports fans who are emotionally invested in different sports depending on who they can see themselves in. Tennis has historically not given Southeast Asia many of those moments. Li Na changed something in China. And now, in a completely different way, Alex is doing something similar for the Philippines and for the broader Filipino diaspora that stretches across the globe. The Philippines has an estimated 10 to 12 million citizens living and working overseas. The Middle East, Europe, North America, East Asia. These are people who grew up watching basketball and boxing, who know Manny Pacquiao's record, who can name every member of their national basketball team. And now they are learning the difference between a WTA 1000 and a Grand Slam. They are booking flights to tournaments. They are filling stands in cities they have never visited before just to watch one player. Tournament directors from Indian Wells to Roland Garros have started to notice. Attendance numbers are honest. When Alex is in the draw, seats fill up. The economic argument for investing in her presence at tournaments is not complicated. But the cultural argument is even more interesting. Because what Alex represents to the Filipino community is something that transcends wins and losses.
She is proof.
Proof that a girl from the Philippines can compete at the highest level of individual sport against the best players in the world. She is not playing team sports where individual contribution blurs into collective success. Every single match, she stands alone on the other side of a net and competes on pure merit. And when she wins, it feels personal to millions of people who have never held a tennis racket. Now let's bring this back to Madrid specifically, because the draw was dropping on April 20th and the tournament was starting April 21st and the stakes were very concrete. Alex needed clay court wins. Not just for ranking points, though obviously those matter. Not just for confidence, though that matters too. She needed wins to prove to herself and to everyone watching that the promise she showed on hardcourts can transfer to red dirt before the French Open comes around. Roland Garros is the biggest clay court tournament in the world. It is where legacies get made or deferred. And every match between Madrid and Paris is preparation.